No,
Yeah.
no, it was like 11 o'clock at night, and the kids just got out of bed and wandered up. Two of the four, there's four,
I know.
wandered on over, and one of them climbs up. So I'm making the video. I'm like, don't you dare do it, because she'll just choke you out. My
Yeah.
five-year-old daughter, and then the other one, my 2-year-old, comes in. Just starts screaming, I'm awake, I'm awake. And I look at him and I go, tell Bill to do the interview. And he goes, do the interview, Bill.
Hey besties, welcome back to my channel. Well, we got a little bit of a teaser here of what we might expect to see in text messages that may have been between Blake Lively and Taylor Swift, because documents that were unsealed today expose a timeline that shows Taylor's involvement, which is a lot more than what she has publicly claimed. Shocking, right? Yeah. Taylor was at a penthouse when Justin got yelled at by Ryan. This was never disclosed before. But there's more. So, let's talk about it. So, for the past several months, Taylor Swift through her PR has tried to distance themselves from what has been going on between Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, and Justin Baldoni. She's had her publicist go as far as to say that she had no involvement in the film. She didn't do anything with casting. She wasn't around for any of these conversations. She was only at the penthouse because of something, because she was there to support her friend and meet her friend's boss. And she didn't say anything about a script. She had nothing to do with casting. She didn't give anyone advice. She wasn't involved at all. Okay, if that's the truth, then that's the truth, right? Or we might get documentation that shows otherwise, which could have been why Miss Swift was trying to dodge process servers to get subpoenaed for a deposition. Right. But something unsealed today as it relates to motions that were filed by both Stephanie Jones along with Blake Lively related to spoliation concerns of the Wayfair parties reveals a timeline that Mr. Heath had created with the help of his attorneys of everything that was going on during production. So they had an understanding of everything that they had endured. Now Blake's team clearly is trying to state that this document was created because they believed there was going to be litigation. All of this is premised on the fact that Blake is trying to say that Wayfair had a duty to preserve literally everything from November 2023 on, and if not then in August of 2024. Preservation is only required once you've been notified by a party that they're intending to sue you. So, it'll go a long way for the judge here to try to claim that they intentionally deleted evidence. I just want to be super clear. And a lot of what they're doing is really conflating small issues as a way to say this is why we don't have the evidence that you smeared me. This is why we can't prove our case. It's just a way to win the case without winning the case. If you have the evidence, you give that evidence to the court. If you don't have evidence, you pound the table and you scream and you make ridiculous allegations and file a million motions to compel and accuse people of spoliation and want sanctions all the time. Alright, that's my opinion. So, this timeline that was put together, it's kind of interesting because somewhere around April of 2025, Justin has a conversation with Blake and Ryan regarding her weight. Okay? And here's how it all plays out. Justin has a phone call with Blake's trainer and asks about her weight. This happened somewhere around the 21st or between the 21st and 24th of 2023. Then on the 25th, Justin, it says, went over to Ryan and Blake's penthouse and Ryan unloaded on Justin how horrible it was that Justin would ask about a woman's weight and claimed that JB was fat-shaming Blake. Justin was completely embarrassed and apologized and even shared some tears. Taylor Swift and Hugh Jackman were also present in the apartment at the time. Alright. So, the film Justin's excuse for the questions about the fat shaming has to do with the scene where he claimed he have to lift Blake and he needed to properly train his back muscles based on the weight of what she would be in order to make sure that to be litigation. All of this is premised on the fact that Blake is trying to say that Wayfair had a duty to preserve literally everything from November 2023 on, and if not then in August of 2024. Preservation is only required once you've been notified by a party that they're intending to sue you. So, it'll go a long way for the judge here to try to claim that they intentionally deleted evidence. I just want to be super clear. And a lot of what they're doing is really conflating small issues as a way to say this is why we don't have the evidence that you smeared me. This is why we can't prove our case. It's just a way to win the case without winning the case. If you have the evidence, you give that evidence to the court. If you don't have evidence, you pound the table and you scream and you make ridiculous allegations and file a million motions to compel and accuse people of spoliation and want sanctions all the time. Alright, that's my opinion. So, this timeline that was put together, it's kind of interesting because somewhere around April of 2025, Justin has a conversation with Blake and Ryan regarding her weight. Okay? And here's how it all plays out. Justin has a phone call with Blake's trainer and asks about her weight. This happens somewhere around the 21st or the 20 between the 21st and 24th of 2023. Then on the 25th, Justin, it says, went over to Ryan and Blake's penthouse and Ryan unloaded on Justin how horrible it was that Justin would ask about a woman's weight and claimed that JB was fat-shaming Blake. Justin was completely embarrassed and apologized and even shared some tears. Taylor Swift and Hugh Jackman were also present in the apartment at the time. They had to cancel it for an entire week. So from the 8th until the 15th, they had to cancel the entire production. But during that same period, Blake was with Taylor at Taylor's concert. So they lost money. So then remember when the first photos started leaking by the paparazzi where they were looking at Blake's wardrobe and the fan reaction was super bad because they didn't think that she was wearing really frumpy clothes. They thought she looked old. This was the fans because the fans are expecting Lily to be 23, not 35. Okay, she's not old. She's just older than Lily who in the book was 23. Okay, so on the day that all of these photos are leaking, they have a meeting with her regarding the wardrobe concerns and he writes, in the morning, Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively discussed production wardrobe and Blake Lively made some remark about how Taylor Swift said the fans don't know what they want until you give it to them. In defense of her wardrobe choices, which were being trashed online. Further, she paid Justin a compliment on this day and upon hearing it, he teared up, which would later be weaponized against him as Blake Lively would insist that Justin Baldoni was in the trailer sobbing about how she looks old. The fans don't know what they want until you give it to them. She attributes this to Taylor Swift. Now, in fairness, this quote or this philosophy, it was made really famous by Steve Jobs and it was related to consumers and innovation. Meaning that we as consumers often don't even know what we're missing until it's provided to us. And think of that in terms of technology. There's so many things that we use in technology today that we didn't even know we needed 20 years ago. And now these things are like their technologies or their, smartphones or whatever social media that now we can't live without. So there is some truth to that. But if you put this in the phase of from Taylor's point of view, what Taylor's doing isn't innovative. She's not offering you anything that hasn't been offered before in terms of music. She's a musician. She's a singer. There's zillions of musicians and singers. There's all throughout history. Dozens and dozens and dozens, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. Nothing she's doing is innovative. So if you're a Swiftie and you hear that she says this, it could position her as being superior to understanding the needs of what the consumer wants or what the fan wants. And in Blake's case, she's using it to justify that the fans don't understand that her wardrobe is terrible. They don't know that they needed this. My terrible wardrobe and what they're reacting to, they didn't even know they needed this. I'm giving them an innovation here. But it's also invalidating the feedback of these people responding negatively, right, to what she's putting out into the world of what Lily looked like. It also, to me, sends that she has a complete lack of self-awareness, even if this is what Taylor has said too about what they, the fans, want for their own preference. Bands that consume music have the opportunity to consume music of zillions of performers and artists. Whether they're huge or small and they have just 5 fans on Spotify, you have the choice. But this belief is that you lack the ability to decide what you want and you don't even know how to make your own choices, and so I'll make these choices for you. And then it also suggests that Taylor and Blake know better about what her fans want and what people want other than themselves. I think this is like a sign of how elite and out of touch they both are. If this is really true what Taylor told her. But then if Blake is like twisting this to like justify an ugly wardrobe, that's even crazier. Okay. Now, I recognize that marketing in and of itself is about selling a product and marketing something to people that maybe they didn't know they need it and showing them the benefits of having this. When it comes to Taylor though, in the last several months and most recently, she has been criticized for selling tons of variants of her albums. She's been criticizing for the overcommod, like bleeding her fans dry by selling so many different variants and giving these exclusive sneak peeks that you can only buy for a certain window and using that to get bigger sales and constantly selling to her fan base. And that just makes me feel like she also says that when she's doing these things, she's doing it because she knows that they want it and she's listening to their feedback, but that quote tells me she's not listening to their feedback because she's thinking she care about what she's doing. It could also be like, are these things she's doing just a cash grab because she thinks that she knows better? These are just things to think about and maybe why they're trying to hide these text messages. So, there's more here with the Taylor stuff that we didn't really know. She's there when Ryan is screaming. She's telling Blake, people don't even know what they want until you give it to them. Apparently, during the first phase of filming before the strike, like the real strike, the writer's strike happened, Blake left and went to London to go be with her husband because her husband was, filming Deadpool and Wolverine. And they're still trying to film a movie. Blake refuses to come back. And according to them, she says that you can sue me if I don't return, but that she wouldn't be happy if you sued. If that doesn't show that she has power, I don't know what does. They went ahead and they resumed filming for 2 weeks and Blake wasn't even on the set. She was in London with her husband at his set of his movie. It appears based on this timeline that this interaction with Blake, where she's in London and she refuses to come back, is a catalyst in a change where she's like, you can sue me. You can sue me and I won't like it, but the only way I'm coming back to film is if you sue me. And then their relationship is done and she's with Ryan. Ryan's probably in her head reminding her about how Justin's being a sexual predator or whatever. And then like it's clear at this point she doesn't want to come back to film. She doesn't want to do the movie anymore. And then they come up with this whole 17-point agreement. And that's where she takes control. She brings on Todd Black. She adds all these protections but also gives herself all kinds of control when it comes to editing, when it comes to rights, when it comes to all these different rights of like a cut being released because she has to sign off on it, right? But it was all because she didn't want to film unless she had control. That's how I'm viewing this. So, another way she weaponized Taylor has to do with the trailer. And according to this timeline, she wanted to edit the film herself and she didn't want to be in the edit bay with Justin. And so she systematically finds ways to like push him out more and more and more, and they're aware that she's trying to take over as director, right? Her husband's marketing company for Maximum Effort is at the screenings for JB's film version, his cut of the film in March. Why would Maximum Effort be there? They weren't involved in this production. But it says on the 2nd of May that she would not approve the trailer. We had also wanted to use the Taylor Swift song. And she threatened to call Taylor and not allow it. So, she was going to call Taylor and say, don't allow this company to ask to use your song. And at that point, she gets more control. Maybe Taylor had nothing to do with that. I mean, seriously though, that's so gross. Like, what? What's really wild is that Blake didn't have a relationship with Colleen Hoover until the screening of the film of Blake's version at the end of May. So, up until that point, Justin was the only one that was involved with Colleen, and Blake didn't really care to have a relationship with her. But then, when she wanted her cut of the film to be the prevailing cut, then she ropes in Colleen. Right. Apparently in early May, Justin tells Colleen about the comment that he made that made Blake mad about the sexy comment. And at the time, he claims that she was empathetic with it. But then later, Colleen calls Brandon Sleaner and tells him about what happened. And then Blake and Ryan relay to Justin that made Colleen uncomfortable. It's obvious that once she got the cast isolated from him, she was able to tell them a side of the story or say things about him to get them on board with her cut. And who knows what kind of promises were made during this point of view, but at least at the first screening. It says that Bradley Cooper, Ryan Reynolds, Sean Levy, and Gigi Hadid were all present at that screening. Blake then invites like Isabella and Brandon to attend Book Bonanza, and she pays for them. We know that, but they hadn't told Sony ahead of time that they would be there. So, she was like whining and dining these people. She's bringing her like really big Hollywood friends to things to show Colleen and everyone else the kind of power that she has. And then during this time, suddenly after 5 years, Colleen develops this uncomfortable relationship with Belen. Suddenly, Brandon has problems with Belen when he previously had none. And then suddenly Colleen doesn't want to work with Justin anymore after a screening. That the only way that they can move forward is if Blake's cut is moved, is released. So Colleen won't work with Baldoni unless Blake's cut is released. And it says she was involved in giving notes and feedback. So Blake allowed Colleen control and allowed her to be in the editing bay with her. And that's how she got Colleen on her side. Suddenly after that same period, Alex says that she doesn't want to talk to Justin anymore. It's just ridiculous when you think about how she did this. Like she gives people what they want. Like if it's access to power, access to influence, like Brandon, or possible future roles with Colleen. Colleen wants more control, she also wants to be up with the Hollywood elite. And so she views Blake as more powerful. And then, after all of this is going down, she fires the editor Ona, who starts crying. And it's after Book Bonanza that Josh at Sony speaks to Blake, and she states that she thinks that Justin should continue to do press and she will take a picture at the premiere. But she did not want to do any press with him. She also told Josh that the younger cast does not know anything. Only her inner circle was in the loop on the drama. Then why did they all turn against Baldoni? She also fires the composer. She gets the PGA credit. And when they refuse to give her the PGA credit, she says, "Any goodwill I had left for you is now gone." They tried to get on a call with her. She refuses. There's like some sort of issue about a coffee.